day, everyone. So for this video, we'll have our discussion about data management. Continuation na lang to. Dahil last time, natapos na natin si measures of central tendency. Ganun din yung measure of dispersion. Pati yung introduction natin sa data management wherein nalaman natin ano yung mga concepts ng population and sample, data, and yung mga data collection method pati yung the general knowledge about statistics and its branches. So patuloy lang natin yung discussion natin last time. So dito tayo mag-start sa measures of relative position. So ano ba yung measure of relative position? So it is a measures of relative position rather describe how a particular data value compares to the rest of the data set. So malalaman natin kung ilan ba yung mas mababa na numbers dun sa certain number or kung pang ilan siya among the data set. So yun yung makukuha natin with the measures of relative position. So they show the position or rank of a value within a distribution. Yung nabanggit natin kanina. So whether it is above, below, or at the middle compared to the others. So kung isipin natin yung ating median, so yung median parang may katumbas siya na relative position kasi sabi dito, middle. Ano yung middle number? Yun yung median natin. So, yung mga iba-ibang measures of relative position, included dyan yung percentile, quartiles, and C-score. Meron din tayong decile na tinatawag. So, start tayo with the percentile. Yung percentile, galing siya sa percentage or percent or per 100. So, the set of values that divide the sample into 100 equal parts kasi nga per hundreds ito ang ating percentile. So a value x is called p percentile of the data set provided p% of data values are less than x. So example natin, let's say we have the 25th percentile or P25, ibig sabihin lang yan that there are 25% of the data that fall below this value. May 25% ng data among the 100% natin na mas mababa sa P25 natin. Same with 90th percentile or P90. Ibig sabihin, pang 90 siya among the data sets na meron tayo. So may data na mas mababa dun sa P90 natin at 90% of the data is mababa sa P90. So may example tayo dito. If the compressive strength at P90 is 35 MPa, it means 90% of the samples have a strength below 35 MPa. And conversely, only 10% are stronger doon sa P90 natin. Naintindihan po? So, possible na meron tayong sample na ang strength lang niya is 29, 34, 10, and those compressive strengths are less than dun sa P90 natin. So, nandun sila sa bottom part. Pero kung meron tayo na compute na na compressive strength na 40, so mas mataas siya kay P90. So possible na si 40 mga P95 na siya or hindi natin alam. Depende kasi do sa dataset. Pero what we could say is that yung 40 ang compressive strength is nakalay ng may mas mataas na percentile compared kay 35 MPa. So ito, let's have an example. So meron daw on a reading examination given to 900 students, so may 900 students na nag-take, Elaine's score of 60 was higher than the scores of 576 of the students who took the examination. So what is the percentile of Elaine's scores? So among 900 students na nag-take ng reading examination, so meron daw na 576 na mas mababa compare kay Elaine. Ano, considering na ang score lang ni Elaine dun sa exam is 60. So hahanapin natin yung percentile. So kunin lang natin yung percent. Ano, so ano yung formula na gagamitin natin diyan? Oh, yan daw pala yung answer. 64 percentile. So ito yung formula na gagamitin natin to compute for the percentile. So simply, kailangan lang natin makuha yung number of values or below the score. So ilan yung estudyante na naka 59, 58, 50, 40 hanggang sa 0. Ano kasi yun yung mga scores na mas mababa sa score ni Elaine. And sabi doon sa problem natin, yung mga number ng students na nakakuha nga na mas mababa sa 60 ay may total na 576. So si 576, yan na yung number of values below the score ni Elaine. Then the total number of values, so kung ilan yung nag-take na examination, and that is 90. So kunin lang natin yung ratio niyan. So magiging decimal yung makukuha natin dyan. Then multiply by 100 to get the percent. Ano para in terms of percent. Ganun lang yung gagawin sa problem na to. Pero there are problems na ang nangyari is ibinigay is yung mas mataas kumpara kay uh, Elaine. So ilan yung mas mataas? Halimbawa, yun ang sinabi, di akumpitin mo din. Kaso hindi yun yung magiging value mo ng numerator kasi dapat is yung mas mababa. Kaya asolvin mo yung number nga na mas mababa kay Elaine. So that's simply subtracting kung ilan yung mas mataas kay Elaine. Then, subtract mo yun from 900 na para may value ka ng numerator. So pero dito naman sa problem na meron tayo, binigay na agad yung number of students na mas mababa sa score ni Elaine, and that is 576. Knowing that, ang kasunod na lang na kailangan natin gawin is to substitute yung values. So the number of students that obtain score lower than Elaine is 576, then divide it by 900, which is the total number of students na nag-take ng reading examination. Then multiply it by 100. So performing the division, we will obtain 0.64 pero pag minultiply natin siya by 100, so that will be 64. So ibig sabihin 64% yung mas mababa ang score kumpara kay Elaine. Ibig sabihin din, Elaine scored better than 64% of the student who took the examination. Pero ano yung answer natin for this problem is that Elaine's score is on the 64 percentile or P64. Sundan po na yun yung pinaka-answer natin. But how are we going to interpret P64 is that there are 64% of the students that scored lower than Elaine's. Nasundan po yun. Sana nasundan. So move naman tayo with the quartiles. Kung yung percentile, hinati natin yung ating dataset into 100 equal parts. Dito naman sa quartiles, hahatiin lang natin siya sa apat. So meron tayong apat na quartiles. That's quartile 1, quartile 2, quartile 3, and the quartile 4. Kasi yun yung panghuli. Kaya ang kukumpitin lang natin is si Q1, Q2, and Q3. So these three numbers, Q1, Q3, Q2, and Q3, that partition a data into 4. Siya yung mga boundaries. So, ibig sabihin sa Q1, meron diyang 25. So percent. Kung compare natin sa percentile, dahil divided by 4 yan, so for equal parts. So bawat quartile, pagitan ng quartile natin is merong 25% of the data. So kung tatawagin din natin in terms of percentile, si Q1 that is the P25. Si Q2 naman that is P50 and si Q3 is yung P75 natin. At si P50 or Q2 ay also called as the median. Ano median nung ating dataset. So ayan yung ating quartiles. So quartile Q1, yan, binabanggit ko na pala kanina. Ito yung illustration yan. Tinable lang natin. Ibig sabihin sa first quartile, 25% of the data fall below this value and may equivalent siya na P25. Then for Q2, second quartile, that is the median or 50% or P50. And Q3 is the third quartile or 75% of the data value fall below this value or P75. So, paano naman natin isosolve yung mga quartile problems? So, just like pagkuha ng median, ganun din sa percentile, ang first thing that we're going to do is to arrange our data from lowest to highest. Kasi kailangan natin malaman kung ano yung position niya doon sa list of our data. So, katulad nito, meron tayong data set na shown determine the quartiles of the data. Luckily, yung data na pre-provide sa atin is arranged na from lowest to highest. So, kung arranged na yan, pwede na nating i-skip yung step na yon. So, sabi to the answer, Q1 is 11, Q2 is 31, and Q3 is 104. But how did we obtain those answers? So una, yan, step 1, arrange the data in order. Then it is also important that we're going to count the datas that we have, number of data. So as after counting, we determine that the number of data points is equal to 19. So important na malaman din natin yung number of data points kasi just like sa median, iba-iba yung gagawin natin. Depende kung odd ba or even yung ating data set. So kung siya ay odd, so simply kukunin lang natin yung gitna. Pero kung even naman, kailangan natin kunin yung average ng dalawang number na nag-lie doon sa gitna ng data set natin. So given that we have 19 which is an odd, so we can compute for the median position using the formula n plus 1 over 2. So 19 plus 1 over 2 or 20 over 2 is 10. So yung Q2 natin ang unang madidetermine ha. Q2 yung una natin makuha, hindi man Q1. So if we have already determined the Q2, that means na nakuha na rin natin yung median. So kung nalilito, Q2, ang gamitin mo ng formula is for the median, concept ng median, kasi parehas lang naman sila. So based on that, ang median position natin or Q2 is the 10th position. So pag nalaman mo na kung ano yung position, i-determine mo na lang doon sa dataset natin. So, ano daw po yung ating ikasampo, bilang lang natin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and ang 10th number is the 29. So may answer na tayo for Q2 that is 29 yung quartile 2 natin. Then after that, pwede tayo mag-proceed to get quartile 1 and quartile 3. So sa quartile 1, mag-focus lang tayo dun sa number na mas mababa kay median kasi nasa lower part si quartile 1. So Q1 is the median of the lower half or the first 9 values below the median. So disregard natin si median, then kunin natin yung numbers na mas mababa sa kanya. So kung ikasampu siya, disregarding the median, 9 na lang yung matitira. And we're going to select what is the median of this lower half. So kung may 9 numbers plus 1 divided by 2, so the fifth position. So the number on the fifth position, that will be the value of our Q1. Ano, so bilangin lang 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So ibig sabihin 11 yung nandun sa quartile 1 natin. So the process will be repeated for computation of our Q3, but upper half naman, ano yung ating kukunin. So for the upper quartile, Q3 is the median of the upper half, the last 9 data values above the median. So ito siya. Then compute for the position, so fifth position din siya sa taas. And then that will be 104. Pero pwede rin naman gamitin natin is for Q1, ano, so 20 times 1/4. Ano kasi 'di ba, ano yan, yung Q1 is the 1/4, then Q2 is 1/2, then Q3 is 3/4. So pwedeng ganun. Pwedeng 19 plus 1 divided by 4. So that will be the location also of our Q1. For Q3 naman, so that will be 19 plus 1 divided by 4 times 3. Ano kasi 3/4. So kung ano yan, so that will be the 15th dapat. Ano? Ika 15th na number. Sundan po. So hopefully nasusundan pa siya. Ano? So ito, may example ulit tayo for the quartile. So the following table lists the calories per 100 milliliters of 25 popular beers. Find the quartiles for the data. So yung data natin medyo scattered pa. Ano? So kailangan nating i-arrange itong ating data set. So after arranging, this will be our data set. So labeled na siya 1 to 25. Ibig sabihin meron pala tayong 25 data for that particular problem. So after determining or arranging our data in order, and also we determine the number of datas in the series, which is 25, we can now proceed on the computation of our median or Q1, Q2, and Q1 and Q3. Ano, so with n na 25, which is add, ganun lang din ang gagawin ulit natin. 25 plus 1 over 2, that is 26 over 2, which is equal to 13. So hanapin lang natin yung pang 13th na value, that is 43. And that simply means na yung ating Q2 is the 43. For Q1 and Q3, ganun lang din sa ginawa natin kanina. I-set aside yung ating lower values, then determine the median of that data set. And that's however pala, nangyari is that we have 12 values lower than the Q2 natin. Ibig sabihin, we must find the average of the values that is on the 6th and the 7th spaces. So, i-average lang natin, but yung pang 6 is 39, pang 7 is 39 as well. So, add lang natin yung 39 plus 39 divided by 2, 39 pa rin. So, Q1 is 39. For the upper quartile, ganun lang din. 12 pa rin yung ating number of values. So, kailangan natin kunin yung ika-6th at ika-7th number. So, that will be 50 and 53, getting the sum divided by 2. So, that is 51.5. That means that our quartile 3 is 51.5. I hope na nasusundan pa yung discussion natin. I'm sorry pala na dahil wala akong dito pad, kaya hindi ako mapagsulat. Kaya screenshot ko na lang yung solutions natin. Then for the decile, ganun lang din siya. Pero this time, hinati lang siya into 10. Kaya may decimals tayo. Ano mga 10 parts. So each decile represents 10% of the data. So D1 is 10 percentile, D5 is the 50th percentile, which is also the median. Then D9 is the 90th percentile. Pero yung sa decile, walang counterpart si Q1. Ano kasi in terms of tenths tayo dito. So wala tayong D2.5 para mag-represent kay Q1. Ano kasi Q1 is 25. As well doon sa Q3 natin sa pang 75. Wala tayong example dito. Pero gagawin lang natin kamukha din halos no mga ginawa natin previously. Then another measure of relative position is yung Z-score natin. And yung Z-score nakadepende siya sa standard deviation. So last time nag-compute tayo ng standard deviation, so pwedeng continuous from that problem, pwede siyang i-continue pa parito. Kailangan din natin ma-solve yung Z-score. So sa Z-score, bukod sa standard deviation, kailangan din natin makuha yung ating mean. Kasi ina-compare natin si tawag dito, yung number meron tayo with the mean kung gaano siya kalayo in terms of the standard deviation. Kaya yung formula natin of z-score is equal to x, yung number na gusto natin malaman kung anong z-score niya, subtracted by the mean, mu, over our standard deviation na omega. So kukunin lang natin yan. May dalawa tayo na z-score formula, depende kung population or sample. So ito yung for population natin and this one naman for our sample. So ito, meron tayong sample na computent, example problem. Ang mean daw ng concrete strength is 30 MPa. Then the standard deviation is 3 MPa. Then the sample ay 36 MPa. So kailangan natin makuha kung ano yung z-score of the 36 MPa. So substitute lang natin siya sa problem, x yung sample, then standard deviation, yan yung S, and yung bar x natin is the mean concrete strength. Substituting that, so what we will have is 36 minus 30 over 3. So 36 minus 30 is 6 divided by 3 is 2. So ibig sabihin, the sample is 2 standard deviations above the mean. So kung positive yung makukuha natin na z-score, so ibig sabihin lang nun better. Mas mataas siya kumpara sa mean. So mas okay yun. At pag naman negative yung na-compute natin na mas mahibaba, so weaker yung ating concrete sample, yung concrete strength ng samples natin. So the sample is 2 standard deviations above the mean, meaning it's stronger than most of the sample. So mas matibay siya kumpara dun sa ibang samples na na-test. Mas mataas ang standard deviation, so mas better siya compared dun sa majority. So ito naman, let's have an example. So Raul has taken 2 tests in his chemistry class. He scored 72 on the first test, for which the mean of all scores was 65 and the standard deviation is 8. So 72 daw yung score niya, pero yung average scores ng kanilang klase is 65 and the standard deviation is 8, was 8. Then, on the second test, nakuha niya ay 60, mas mababa yung nakuha niyang score. Pero, the mean scores was 45. Pero mas mababa din yung scores ng karamihan. Mataas pa rin siya. And the standard deviation was 12. And 12 daw naman yung standard deviation. So, for this particular problem, in comparison to other students, did Raul do better on the first test or the second test. So makikita natin na okay naman, mas mataas yung score niya ano kumpara doon sa karamihan. So good performing si Raul. Pero considering na 72 yung score niya on the first test and yung average scores nung kanyang mga nung buong class is 65 and the standard deviation is 8, mas mataas ba yung o ga malaki ba yung inilayo ng score niya kumpara dun sa majority compared dito sa second test na 60 lang siya, mas mababa yung score niya. Pero mababa din naman yung score ng mga klase niya which is 45 and also the standard deviation was at 12. So saan siya mas nag-excel compared do sa mga kaklase niya. Ano, so to know that, so gagamit tayo ng Z-score. Ano, so kung isipin mo parang yung sa Z-score baga ay naka-perfect ka, naka-perfect ka ng exam. Pero yung mga klase mo naman ay ang average nung klase nyo ay 95. Ano, so compared with their scores, yung bang perfect mo ay napakagaling mo na compared sa kanila. So, mag-measure natin siya using the C-score. So, mataas ka, pero mataas din naman sila, parang ganun. So, alamin natin kung saan siya mas nag-excel better compared sa mga kaklase niya. Kung first test ba or the second test. So, to solve for that, kailangan natin ng dalawang C-score. Magka-compute tayo ng C-score on the first test and a C-score on the second test. And tingnan natin kung ano yung C-scores doon. Kung mas mataas yung C-score doon sa first test, so ibig sabihin nag-excel siya better sa first test. Kung naman mas mataas yung C-scores na na-compute natin on the second test, so mas okay yung result nung second test niya compared do sa mga klase niya. Ano, yung C-score ay comparing with the overall. Pero kung isipin mo kasi, alin ang mas gusto mong score dyan? Ano, kung record ko yan, mas gusto mo syempre yung score mo na 72. Pero kung kung gusto mong malaman kung mas magaling ka ba sa mga klase mo, C-score yung gagamitin natin. So second test daw pala. Bakit second test? Mas mababa naman yung naging scores niya dun, 60 lang. Ano? So, why? So, malalaman natin by computing for the C-score. So, yan, recall lang natin formula for the C-score. We have Z is equal to X minus mu over the standard deviation. So, bakit tayo gumamit ng formula na to? That is the population. Ano kasi lahat ng kaklase ni Raul was considered. So, the entire population was the class. So, hindi naman pinili yung mga kaklase niya lang. So, computing for the C-score, substitute lang natin for the first test. The value of row scores on the first test was 72 minus 65, the mean of the first test divided by 8. So, that is 7 over 8 or 0.875. Ano? So, okay naman, mas mataas siya. Yun lang yung indication ng positive na C-score nito. Compute naman natin C-score na second test, that's 60 minus 45 over 12 and makukompute natin is 1.25. Now, gusto natin malaman kung saan siya nag-excel better, so compare natin yung dalawang C-score. C-score sa first quiz is 0.88, yung rounded. Then on the second exam naman or test was 1.25. Both na better ang performance kasi mas mataas, positive. Pero kung alin yung may mas malaking value ng standard ng C-score, so yun yung exam na mas nag-perform better si Raul relative dun sa buong klase nila. Ibig sabihin, yung test na pangalawa, dun mas nag-perform si Raul compared to sa kanyang buong klase. Nasundan po. I hope na naintindihan to. Yan, may isa pa tayong example. A consumer group tested a sample of 100 light bulbs. it found that the mean life expectancy, yung buhay ng light bulb, was 842 hours with a standard deviation of 90. One particular light bulb from Durabright Company had a C-score of 1.2. What was the lifespan of the light bulb? So, maraming light bulb na tines, 100, pero gusto nating malaman kung ano yung magiging life expectancy nung light bulb na galing kay sa company na Dura Bright. And considering na si Dura Bright Company was part of the 100 light bulbs na test. So, mo-compute natin yung lifespan. Pabaliktad naman dito, no, kasi given si score. So, ano yung unknown na inahanap natin? Yung lifespan. So, X yung compute natin dito. We're finding for the X value. So, 950 daw siya. So, mean is 842, standard deviation is 90, C-score is 1.2. So, our formula is Z is equal to X minus mu over uh, the standard deviation. So, i-manipulate lang natin equation, multiply both sides by mu or the standard deviation. So magiging ganito na siya sa baba, x is equals to mu plus standard c-score times the standard deviation. Then substitute lang natin yung value. Ano, so 842 plus 1.2 times 90. 1.2 times 90 is 108 plus 842. So 95. 95 hours yung itatagal ni Durabright light bulb. Bakit mas mataas siya compared dun sa average ng lahat ng light bulbs? Kasi siya nga ay may mas mataas na assist score. Ibig sabihin, kung mabili ka, better na Durabright light bulb yung bilhin mo kasi mas nagatagal siya compared sa ibang brand. So ito lang yung summary ng mga measures of relative positions natin, the percentile, quartiles, decile, and the C-scores. Sana yan? Ba't ayaw sumunod? So stop ko lang muna yung ating recording, then another recording will be done for the next topic.